5 hypnotic secrets you never heard of, or maybe you heard of a few of them, but if you don't listen to the entire video up to the end, those secrets will follow you into your dreams. More seriously, many people are lost when they want to hypnotize their clients, or in any kind of more general setup they want to practice some covert hypnosis, and they have trouble because they don't understand why the mind of the person in front of them does not obey the suggestions, or why when they want to make them go into a trance something is blocking the induction or anything like that. Therefore, technique number 1 of the ones that will help you drastically, it is called a pattern interrupt, and you may know about the one that Bandler made famous, the handshake interrupt, but I'm going to talk more about verbal ones, about linguistic pattern interrupts, and more specifically anything that will help the person break out of their negative state, and any kind of verbal skills where you are going to go sideways. So people, when they speak, they wait from you, especially if you are a therapist, a coach of any sort, people wait from you to go along their way, to be reassuring, to comfort them into their decisions. Therefore, a pattern interrupt here can be very simple. It is at any moment where you are not going in their direction. And for example, if they say, you know, I can't do public speaking, or I could never tell my wife about this problem, or whatever they complain about specifically. If they complain or show themselves particularly negative about something, you may just tell them, why not? I don't understand, why not? It is super easy, why don't you just do it? And obviously people might get a bit triggered, specifically if it is something they have had so much trouble for the past 5 years, 10 years to deal with. I can't stop alcohol. Why not? And that will help them to unveil deeper things. So if there was a problem of miscommunication so far, or if nothing of what you say was bringing any results, you may use something like this, like, but why? It is so simple, why don't you just do it right now? And it will help them get out whatever was blocked inside themselves that they were maybe even lying to themselves about. Another one is, why don't you just stop doing it? There was a really funny video coming from some comedy show where an actor that was playing the psychologist kept telling the client, just stop it. Whatever she was complaining about, he said, you know, the therapy session is going to take only 3 minutes or like 5 words. And he said, whatever she was complaining about, he said, just stop it. And she was like, I can't, stop it now.
So what you're saying is you're claustrophobic.
Yes, that's it.
All right, well, let's go, Catherine. I'm going to say 2 words to you right now. I want you to listen to them very, very carefully. Then I want you to take them out of the office with you and incorporate them into your life. Stop it!
I'm sorry?
Stop it!
Stop it?
Yes, S-T-O-P, new word, I-T.
So I should just stop it.
There you go.
Well, I have self-destructive relationships with men.
Stop it! You want to be with a man, don't you?
Yes.
Well, then stop it.
Which is kind of going over the board here, obviously, but you can get the essence of this message. It is when the client is just endlessly complaining, or whatever you do, they're like, oh, doesn't work on me, oh, I tried that before. At some point, just ask them clearly what they want and tell them, why don't you just do it right now? I can't. Why can't you right now? I can, why don't you? And it will help them get out of their self-fulfilling complaints that never ends. Secret number 2 is the same principle than the first one, but a different technique. The principle is to break them out, help them break out of their negative frame. So When people come to you, they have built a whole frame around them, around their life, around the way they explain to themselves what the problem is about. So whenever they talk to themselves about what keeps them stuck, they have built a whole frame of negative beliefs surrounding their problem. Or they used pre-existing beliefs that have been preventing them from doing what they want maybe from the last 10, 15, 20 years sometimes. And the thing is, if somebody comes to you and you are the therapist or the coach, pretty likely they can't. They have trouble getting out of this negative frame, and they don't even perceive, they don't even see what is outside of this frame, because they have built walls around it so well shaped and so clever. Their limitation became so clever to not change, which is the purpose of defense mechanisms. They prevent you from seeing what is outside of your negative perception. So the idea is to help them break out of this negative frame. And one big question I like to ask in this example, is what would happen if this problem did not exist? So mainly for people who have trouble articulating a compelling outcome, like you ask them what do you want out of the hypnosis or out of the coaching session, and they say like, oh, I would like to get better, or I would like my life to improve, or I want negative people out of my life. And that really doesn't seem like a very compelling outcome. So you can help them clarify, yeah, sure, if your whole problem, if it had never existed, if in your whole life so far this thing you complain about, you hate, you would like to change, if this thing had never even existed, then what would you do right now? What would you be naturally compelled to do? And the point is to help them find, a breakthrough, helping them, giving them the lens to finally see through their negative frame, like giving them a detail, enriching their map of the world, their negative map of the world, with a detail they had never thought about that would reframe by itself their whole negative perception of where their life is right now. Secret number 3 is going to be more about the covert way of doing things, more on the nonverbal behaviors and the way you present information instead of the actual language patterns. For example, it is going to be about leaning forward and changing the tone of your voice. So whenever you want to use a very specific embedded command, like your life is going to change really soon, that's pretty generic, but you can adapt that based on what the person in front of you needs the most. And you might at some point tell a story about a past client you had, for example, and whenever the client in your story, which in the end is a metaphor for what you want the unconscious mind of the person listening to catch and act upon, but you talk about some client you had in the past, and at some point you are going to lean forward and say, and when this client completely changed his life, what happened next was that. And the fact of leaning forward and changing the tone of your voice, you may overdo it or do it just very lightly, just like that. It will just create a moment in the mind of your interlocutor where they are so focused on what you say that whatever you say is much more likely to go unconscious. Just rehearsing a story extremely fast and talking super fast to prevent them from losing attention, but in the end they do lose attention if you don't make a pause and at some point have variables in your voice tonality, in the way you speak, in the way you talk, and if you mention other things, and at some point you lean forward and stop. And notice one thing this person talked about very specifically. At this moment, their unconscious mind is going to be much more focused, evolutionary reflex. We are more trained from an evolutionary perspective to catch the things that are different. Whenever something is moving in a different pace, at a different pace in our environment, we are conditioned to pay more attention to it. So if you have been speaking on the same tempo and the same tonality the whole time, and at some point you lean forward and speak in a different voice tonality, people are going to catch the message you give to them much more powerfully. Secret number 4 is to use much more their name. There is apparently nothing, from some studies I read long ago, there was apparently nothing that creates more dopamine in your brain than hearing your own name. When you hear your own name, it creates dopamine in your brain and you want to be more attentive to what's going to happen next, what's going to be said next. So whenever you can use the name of your client or the person you want to hypnotize and induce some command or suggestion, like the one that I like to use, is from my experience. So Robert, for example, or Johnny, or Kat, or Eric, or whatever. Robert, from my experience, the one thing that makes everyone change their life is... And then you can talk about whatever, anything that is specific to your client, I would say. A great quote I heard recently was, you don't become good at fishing by understanding how to fish, or like by being a good fisherman, you become great at fishing by understanding how the fish is thinking, by getting yourself into the shoes of the fish. So right here you would need to understand really clearly what the problem is of your client, or more generally, people who can't be hypnotized by you, what is their main blockage, and then you might talk about something like, you know, Robert, from experience, most people finally get hypnotized when they, and then you talk about whatever detail is specific to your client. So whenever they start visualizing about their future, if it is, for example, an entrepreneur who is really watching a lot of success mindset content, then you can just talk about hypnosis linking with this. So, you know, from my experience, Robert, most people finally get hypnotized when they visualize success really intensely. And from there, linking with something the client really wants to hear about, you can induce in their mind a covert trance to some extent, or helping their mind to let go of some defenses, because you have been linking the process of being hypnotized with something specific they wanted to experience. And secret number 5, last one finally, is unfortunately that people are more compelled and triggered and motivated by the aversion of loss, by the fear of losing something, than by going towards something they would like to be part of. Or like, let's say it is more urgent. People will be motivated by something positive in their future. If you talk to them about having a better status around in their hometown or in the city they live in, or have a better position at work, or have some better connection in their family with their relationships, it will be motivating, but it will in many cases won't make them act as urgently as if you talk to them about something they are going to lose. Just compare how you could feel if I was telling you about earning right now, about doubling down your salary, your paycheck right now. Okay, I can elaborate on that, it's going to be pretty interesting. But if I tell you about somebody really close to you, somebody who is close to you in your family or in your relationships, and that person may be gone really soon, if you don't act upon this right now, because it is a climate problem or a health problem, and if you don't act upon this, if you don't tell them about it, if you don't buy my course right now about this, then those people might get really unhealthy. Now, the whole psychology, which is a very dark maneuver from some marketers out there, it is going to work much better to make people take action than if you tell them about, oh, what if everyone was happy around you? That will be interesting to people, but it is way stronger if you tell them about what they're gonna lose, or what they hate the most and want to get away from. Therefore, some good questions you can ask people if they don't get hypnotized, or if the session with your clients is not going anywhere, whatever you say, it is not moving forward in any way. You might ask them, what exactly do you hate the most? What really disgusts you the most? What do you hate the most about your situation, or about this thing you don't want anymore? You say you want to change your job. Okay, fine. What do you hate the most about your job? Or if it is one person in your life you don't want to see anymore, what is it specifically you hate the most about this person? Or if it is about something you want to change but did not change yet, or you would like, but something is holding you back somehow in your life. Okay, what are you scared the most of losing? If you were Johnny, if you were to act upon this big change you would like to act upon in your life, what is the thing you're scared of losing the most that is preventing you from actually doing that right now? Like, what would be the worst case scenario? Tell me, because if you don't act upon the thing you would like to act upon right now, obviously it is because some fear is holding you back. And we can talk around it for hours and hours, but in the end it won't solve the problem. What will solve it, Johnny, is if you tell me right now, what are you scared of losing? Specifically, what are you scared of happening? If something was stronger than the possibility of you getting toward your outcome in a negative way, what would that be? Can you tell me from the deepest part of your mind, what is the main thing, what is the main fear holding you back from just letting go and doing right now the thing you wish you could do? What is the one fear? And you know, if they have some resistance, they might try to turn around it and like distance themselves by saying, oh, it's not me, it's people usually. I don't care about people usually. What about you? You know, sometimes when you start touching really important things, your clients will start drifting around and say, no, but it is not really about me. It's about the people who are like me usually. I don't fucking care of people who are like you. What about you, Johnny? Tell me about you right here. And at this point, you are going to get them closer to a big instant change, because now you are not letting their limitation pull you away from the outcome. As a therapist, as a coach, the outcome is the main blockage you have. We go right here and we hit it in a powerful but healthy way. Obviously, it's not about creating pain, it is about creating a positive change, and you are going to make them act upon this change in their life. From there, when you have set the right context, then pretty much any kind of hypnotic induction or anything, it will work, because you have set the right context for their mind to change, for some positive resource to emerge into their life. But if you try to hypnotize somebody without setting the right frame, the right context, they may just loop in circles and never really change, because you didn't hit the right limiting belief or limitation. Now, if you want to hear more about that, you have 5 days, a 5-day challenge, a 5-day covert hypnosis challenge, where you will basically go through each day one by one, and you will have one assignment, not too difficult, something a bit challenging but not too difficult, that you can complete your missions one by one, and you will increase your level of skills with this challenge. It is down below in the description, it is completely free, and you can do this as of tomorrow or as of today, as you want, and it will definitely improve your skill set and make you understand what is it that you are not doing correctly yet. That will definitely make you improve in terms of how to influence people covertly in your everyday life and situations.